Hey y'all, what's up? It's Lauren and welcome back to my channel. I apologize for not having a video up for these past couple weeks. I have actually been playing with a new phone, which is what I'm filming from today, so I'm very excited about that. And since then I have only been reading one book, and I believe it's one book. I kind of experimented with another book, but then I was like, no. And you may also notice another thing that has changed about me, and I got a haircut. My hair was like down to here. Now we got it cut up to here. You know, gotta keep looking fresh for that job hunt, you know, like, anyways. So I'm here today to talk to y'all about a book review that is long overdue, by the way. And yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. It is about True Colors by Kristin. I loved this book. This was my first book by Kristin that I've ever read, and it was absolutely phenomenal. What can I say about this book? It's about three sisters, Winona, Aurora, and Vivienne. Vivienne is the youngest, and she is the life of the party. She has nothing else better to do than talk to her. You know, it's all about her. And they live on this ranch in Washington State, and it's called, gosh, I can't remember what it was called. It doesn't say on the back of the book, but her father owns it, and since her father's gotten older, she has now become the one, she has now become the one to kind of take over the ranching and, like, you know, care and maintenance of the ranch. And so after that, we kind of follow Vivienne. So Winona, Vivienne, and Aurora are sisters. Winona is the bigger boned, more plump, voluptuous, I'm gonna call it, because I'm one of those voluptuous girls as well. So, but she's one of the bigger boned, bookworm, you know, college kind of girls that, you know, it's not she doesn't think she's the prettiest, but, yeah. And then Aurora is the stylish, like, sexy, gorgeous, got me a rich husband kind of girl, and, she's very into the whole, like, designer kind of thing. And then we have Vivienne, who, like I said, is the life of the party. She's the baby, of course, so, you know, of course she has that baby, of the family mentality. She's the apple of her dad's eye. Winona has always wanted her dad's approval, and Aurora's just sitting in the middle like, I really don't care. I really don't know if you see this in him or not. That's okay, you know, whatever. And so, yeah, and it just starts off with, and I think this takes a span of about maybe 10 or 15 years, and it starts off with, you know, Vivienne, and there might be some spoilers ahead, so I'm not sure yet, but we will have to see. But it starts off with Vivienne, and, you know, just introducing her and Aurora, and both her and Winona and Aurora as well, and it kind of shows us exactly what she's up for, you know, what she does, and things like that. And then one night she meets this guy named Luke, who was her older sister Winona's best friend in high school. He has come back to town after his mom told him not to, and he was like, I want to still. So he comes back and he sees her, and they start talking, and Winona knows that the old crush from, you know, what she had in high school has come back to haunt her. And so she knows this is bad news, because she knows if Vivienne gets her sights on him and he gets his sights on her, then he knows that all bets are off between Winona and Luke. So, what do you know? One night, bam, Vivienne and Luke meet. So in between this time that Vivienne and Luke meet, they kind of, they start dating, but also Winona's trying to take charge of the whole entire farm, you know, the ranch. And its finances is going down the toilet, and everything's just going wrong that could go wrong. So Winona takes over as kind of like the financial manager and starts hiring somebody, and she hires somebody new named Dallas Raintree, and things go downhill from there. This is such a good book. I forgot what it was rated. I think it was rated 4.0 on Goodreads. I'm not sure, but my rating is 4.5 stars because this was absolutely phenomenally written. I did not expect the kind of drama that I got, and I tried to associate myself with one of the characters, and I'd say maybe one of the characters that I most associate myself with would probably have to be Winona because, again, I am more of a bookworm. I'm more of a, learning kind of girl. Let's go to school. Let's, of course, I'm a bigger girl, and so it's been a little bit harder for me to find love, but that's all right. I got books, but, I kind of associate with her, but then there's some actions that she does throughout this. She gets very jealous and obsessive over Vivienne and Vivienne's, actions, and, the fact that Vivienne is her father's apple of her eye and not her, Winona. So Winona gets very, very obsessive and very revengeful. And something big happens and she doesn't stick up for Vivienne and Vivienne's, at this point in time, husband. So Vivienne does get married, to whom you'll have to read the book to find out. But she does get married, and she ends up, Winona ends up, trying to take a side in it, and Vivienne's not very happy about the side that she takes. And so with that being said, the side that she takes ends up splitting all the sisters apart, and then they come back together years later, and I don't know, it's just, even years later, even the, 10 years after the fact, and Vivienne's forgiven Winona and everything, y'all will have to read to find out, exactly what it is I'm talking about, but I don't know, it's just Vivienne used to get on my nerves at the start of the book, but then as we follow her and her journey, I'm more like, okay, well, I see, her point of view, and I actually kind of feel sorry for her. But Winona, she started out of the book as, one of my favorites, and I started associating with her. And then the further the book went on, I was just like, I don't know really how I feel about Winona anymore. She really was one of the most annoying characters in this book, to be completely honest with you. And then I also feel like this book was kind of just about Aurora and Winona. I mean, not Aurora, Winona and Vivienne, and it really didn't have a lot about Aurora in here. All she was there for really was to be, the mediator, so she would just sit there and, mediate arguments between Winona and Vivienne, and sometimes she'd take Vivienne's side and sometimes she'd take Winona's side, and then other times she'd be like, well, look, you've got to remember, we're sisters, and stuff like that. And so she was always kind of the voice of reason, but she never was really a part of the big central plot of the story. It was always either mainly Vivienne or Winona. And I kind of actually really liked Vivienne's story. I think Vivienne, from the beginning, she took a different route, and she seemed to me at the very beginning a very shallow, self-centered, all about me kind of person, and she still kind of carries that trait with her throughout the book, but you can also see her get very humbled, because a lot of things happen to her in the book, in the process of making it to the end, that really just take her down a bunch of notches. And I personally like seeing that when a character is up here and she's all oh, Miss Flawless, oh, Miss Perfect, and then she gets taken down a little bit. And I really like to see that in these kinds of books. Winona pretty much stayed annoying throughout the whole entire thing. So yeah, I think Vivienne was probably my favorite character. Because of her growth. She had a lot of growth from the beginning to the end of the book. And I think at the end she realizes that, yeah, she's not, she can easily just do something at the snap of a finger and she'll be her dad's not favorite anymore. Their dad is a very tough character. I didn't like him a lot because he's just one of those older, craggy, I guess you could describe him as craggy, hard exterior, doesn't show love to his children kind of guy. And it was just, I don't know, I think a lot of stuff that happened in his previous life, like, you know, before we read this, a lot of stuff happened that we didn't really get a good sense of, like, what made him that way. But he was just very hard towards his daughters, and, like, finally towards the end he kind of, like, softens up, but he's still, you know, and I know Winona's always like, oh, I want my dad's approval, I want his approval, and that's great and everything, but, you know, he's just not the kind of guy that gives his approval. So really, a lot of the characters in here kind of got on my nerves. Another character that I really, really liked was Dallas Raintree. And he is part Native American, part Caucasian. And as a person who has more Native American in her than a lot, I mean, I have white in me too as well. I have more white in me. But I have a pretty good decent amount of Native American blood in me. My grandpa was full-blooded Lumbee Indian, and so as a girl who has, you know, who has Native American blood in her, I really found that I associated with him. And I just found his character fascinating. She kind of gave a little bit of, like, background on him, but not too much. And I kind of like that because it kind of always left us wondering, like, you know, what is this guy? Does he really love this girl? So he's the one that ends up falling in love with Vivienne, and he end up falling in love, and that's all I'm going to tell you. Does she marry Luke, or does she marry Dallas? I don't know, but Dallas has a very hard exterior as well, so it takes a while for us to get to know him, but by the end, I was like, I'm a fan of Dallas, and I can see, and he made some decisions that weren't so, like, you know, nice, but I actually liked the decisions that he actually made. I don't have a problem with that. So I think that he also was one of those characters that, like, grew on me. Not as much as Vivienne, but I really think that, you know, he did a lot of personal growing throughout as well. So, yeah. I think Kristin Hannah did a phenomenal job. This being my first book of hers, like, reading it, I was like, okay, I like this. This is good. And I have another book of hers that I want to get. It's called The Nightingale, I think, is what it's called. But I also have another one of her books called Firefly Lane, and I want to get that one, or I want to read that one, because this one was really, really good. I could not put it down, and it's really thick, too. It's got a whole lot of, like, you know, pages in it, but it was really good. And it just, you know, she does a really great job at being descriptive and being a descriptive writer and doing, you know, telling the dynamics of siblings. I don't have a sister, but I do have a brother, and, you know, he and I, that relationship, of course, is going to be different from sisters, but I still think the sibling dynamic, I got that really well, and I think she does a really good job of doing that in this book. So yeah, I give it a 4.5 stars. I loved it, and I hope and recommend you pick it up and read it, because it is a really great read. Follow me on Goodreads if you are interested in seeing anything else that I'm interested in, as well as what I'm currently reading. And speaking of which, we are segueing on to what I'm currently reading now, and that is Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard, the Sword of Summer. And I am about, according to Goodreads, it says I'm about 52% of the way finished. I am loving this book so far. So I went from, like, an adult book to a YA again, and I'm gonna go from this to another YA book after this. I have plans. But, yeah, I'm really excited about it. It's so good so far. And, I'll let y'all know. I'll be doing a book review on this one as well, and it might have to include spoilers, because this is just, you can't talk about this and not have spoilers in it. It's so good. So yeah, I really hope that y'all enjoyed this. It's really great to be back and really great to see y'all again, and I hope that y'all will continue watching. I have a book haul coming up, another book haul coming up, because I've been shopping for books since the last time we spoke. So I'm really excited about that, and I'm really hoping that y'all will stay tuned, and I'll see y'all later. Bye!